Electric Cafe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. This video is episode number 7 in my top 100 trance tracks of all time. In this video I'll be counting down from number 40 down to number 31 as we continue the countdown for my favorite trance tracks of all time. You know, one of the things that I was thinking about as I was doing this list and I was going to start this video today, I was thinking, you know, people that are watching this series or this video is probably thinking that I really like trance music. And when I start thinking about like what is trance and my liking of it, I may not like trance in the form of what most people think is trance music. So it's funny. I mean, I certainly like some Goa trance. I like some side trance. I like the psychedelic element in a lot of trance. I like some acid trance, but my heart is in the balance of techno and ambient. I'm more of a techno fan than a trance fan, you know, of what you would call trance. And so it's funny. I'm doing these videos, but you know, a lot of people would probably be like, "Well, you don't really have too many songs past like 1997 or 1998." Which is probably when trance most got popular, especially here in America. Like, so it's strange that I find it kind of ironic that I'm doing a trance best of list, and then I don't think a lot of the later trance is very good in the sort of the formulaic popular stuff that was played in super clubs and stuff like that. You know, your normal Tiesto and ATB and all that kind of stuff. Like you know, unfortunately, sorry to say, but I kind of despise that stuff. But I like the original intentions of what techno and ambient did, and it's sort of giving you a trance feeling. And when it started to become a genre, it kind of became oversaturated and got a little too stiff and lost the ambient side, lost the psychedelic side, lost the techno side, and became sort of more progressive house and kind of stale for the most part. Obvious big build-ups, obvious melodies, cheesy lyrics in it, you know, overarching big anthem melodies, which, you know, some of them were a lot of them were too fast. Not a lot of them really had any groove in them anymore, and then really were far away from the evolution of dance music as house and, you know, ambient house and ambient techno, and kind of got into trance, right? Like we're way far away from house music and even techno now in the later trance, because there's really no groove, there's really no rhythms. You know, for the most part, it's you know, it's kind of like I kind of joke around and call it aerobics music. A lot of the later trance, it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of super cheesy. But so I just kind of find it ironic that I'm doing a best of list, and you'd think I would love trance, and most of it I really kind of despise. But that's my small rant for the day. Let's go on to track number 40. So that was track number 40 called Eternal Light by Microwave Prince. This came out in 1995 on La Petite Records. I first heard it in 2002 on this Ibiza compilation from 1996 that was about 1996 tracks. And so at the time, this track was fresh. And Microwave Prince did a lot of good sort of acid trance back in the day, and kind of like Commander Tom and Dr. Fernando, a lot of good like harder acid trance. Um, but also this particular track is certainly a lot more minimal, slower, but it's deeper, atmospheric. It's kind of a subtle trance, builds over a long period of time. It's roughly about 10.5 minutes, but I just really love the slow building of it, and it's just a great example of a slower trance track that can still not be fast and overly atmospheric and overly euphoric or anything like that, but still puts you in a deep trance. Um, Love this track. I love the subtleties of it, and love the minor changes as the song really goes on. It's just a very deep, minimal, kind of trancey track, and I love it. Let's go on to track number 39.
Since we first looked at the sky and saw stars and wondered and speculated.
that was track number 39 with a score of 83 out of 100. Discovery by Syzygy. Came out on Rising High in 1994. I first heard it on on this compilation called Trance Injection, which is a double CD, great compilation. Also, I heard it the same year. It was on Secret Life of Trance 2, the 4-disc. And then a couple years later, I got a copy on vinyl on its own release by Syzygy, of course. This track, it flows really well. It's a little bit over 10 minutes. Love the deep bass. Love the ambient parts, the discovery message of looking out into stars and wondering what's out there and stuff like that. It has a really good sort of, not even really psychedelic. It's more just about space music and just not necessarily, finding extraterrestrial life as much as it is just finding out what's out there. And that was the idea behind the, discovery. Love the flow of this one. Nice and gentle. Some good parts where some acid part comes out. Some parts where it kind of hones in on the groove. It was actually kind of a deep groove. And the bass line is really, really deep. Love the vocal samples in there. The parts that sound like they're from a movie. A lot of good parts on this. A lot of flow. This flows very unlike a lot of trance music. It flows more like an ambient song, and that's why it really ranks high up there for me. Excuse me, because it's a great example of the importance of ambient in trance music back in those days. Like this is maybe even more of an ambient song than even a trance song, but has such a groove and a beat throughout. I still consider it trance, but such a classy track, and you can tell it's not necessarily have the most fantastic equipment on there and overproduced sounds and it's just a nice, well programmed track with probably not a lot of equipment. I mean, it's kind of almost sounds like maybe one or two keyboards, maybe a beat machine at the most, a sequencer in there. Very, very, I won't say basic track, but in a programming sense, it seems fairly basic, but it just has a lot of different flows, and really by the end of the track, it feels like you've really kind of gone somewhere, like you've really kind of discovered and explored whatever they're sort of looking for in the theme of the song. Just a really, really good track, and again shows the importance of ambient music in a lot of my favorite trance. And it came in at number 39. Let's go on to number 38. right, so that was track number 38 called Lost in Alaska, the Euro Trancey mix by Alaska, which was also Laurent Garnier, which I first heard on this compilation of early works in 1996, which was a couple years after. This originally came out on FCOM Records in 1993, with a score of 83 out of 100 points. Gotta love the mysteriousness on this track. It's dramatic. There's some tension in there. It's deep. It's beautiful. The strings are almost orchestral in the way they flow, and just love the dramatic sound of here. The bass line is really important as well, not to be missed, and not to be. I wanted to mention the bass line is really key too, because it's unique in that it's not your normal trance bass line. Still has a little bit of techno to it, and there's a lot of acid work at the beginning of this track, especially very ambient as well, with a long kind of minute and a half, almost 2 minutes of ambience as the sort of acid line builds up, and just kind of in my opinion, it sounds like Laurent Garnier this is like his ode to Frankfurt trance music in a way. I think this is the fourth time Laurent Garnier has been on this list, and which is amazing. It just shows you how amazing a producer is. Because people don't think of Laurent Garnier. They probably think of him as a techno producer and a DJ first, and then maybe even likes acid house and even some house music more, and just electronic music. But he's also done some trance back in the day, and I've included about 4 or 5 of his tracks, if I'm not mistaken, on this list, and this is one of his highest ranked one, if I'm not mistaken. I think there might be one other one without giving it away. But love this track. And it's also from his side project, Alaska, which makes sense because, under his name is probably a little bit more techno. And but yeah, it's just a fantastic track. And let's go on to number 37. right, so that was number 37, called Lollipop Man by Union Jack, and came out on Platypus Records in 1993. Now with the score, we're up to 84 out of 100. Love the dark underground sound on this one. Just a really strong builder. Love the build up. Love how it stays in the groove. Really kind of a dark groove. Verging, a lot of sigh in here as well. Just kind of one of those trance tracks that just kind of stays in the darker, more mysterious edge, and just shows you like the power of a good like techno groove and how important darker music is. Um, in those days to keep to balance the euphoria. There's a lot of times I talk about the how a lot of techno and a lot of trance needs to be dangerous sounding. Like you got to remember in those days, uh, club going was warehouse parties were illegal. Like you didn't know if they're going to get broken up. You a lot of times if you were taking some other um, head expanding drugs or whatever, you were getting it from somebody you didn't know. It was just you were partying with people that, a lot of times you were traveling to a place where you didn't know the people. It wasn't like you're going to a safe club down the street where it's regular. There's no security most of the time. Like these are very dangerous clubs, that warehouse parties that we used to go to in the early 90s and middle 90s. Like this is this is the music for that. Like this kind of music was kind of the embodiment of that dangerous kind of sound. So I talk a lot about trance being or techno being dangerous and it needing a lot of the good stuff. It needs that balance. You talk a lot about dichotomy of beauty and darkness and having that tension, involved in a lot of tracks. And it's not just trance music; it's other styles as well that I look for, but certainly trance a lot, and even ambient music because there's a lot of euphoria in there and a lot of melody, and you want to have something, for every song that's really happy and beautiful, you want a song that's kind of mysterious and darker, right? And Union Jack Lollipop Man is one of my favorites, and that's why it ranks so high up here at number 37. Just love the dark groove of it, and it's just you hear things like this, and hopefully if you've never heard this track or you don't really have too much experience with early 90s music, like you can hear this and you're like, I can kind of see why it was so exciting in those days, because for everything that was certainly happy and joyful and having a great time, there was also a feeling of escape and a feeling of sci-fi and mysteriousness and alien and of tension and balancing that with beauty. And that's kind of the idea here with a lot of the trance back in the day, was it needed to be dynamic and dangerous as much as it was beautiful, and have that balance. And this is a great example of that track. And in my opinion, as the sort of 90s progressed, techno really took on that and really, in my opinion, almost, and still to the point where it's evolved over the years, where techno really kind of took on that sort of dangerous tension feel and ran with it and almost perfected it in a lot of ways, while trance sort of lost that and just became club music and really stale. And that's a big part of what was missing about a lot of the later trance music, was it just lacks aggressiveness. It lacks some tension. It lacks a lot of the balance that in the earlier days it made it so exciting. And yeah, just my thoughts on it. Let's go on to track number 36. So that was number 36, track called Desire by Icon. Came out in 1993 on IQ Records. I first heard it on this compilation a year later from IQ Records as well. With a score of 84 out of 100, this is, in many ways, this is a good example of an ideal trance track. If you notice the beat and the structure and the progression of it, it is very straightforward trance. It could even be more poppy, but because that melody is so smooth and it's not in your face and it's just really subtle, I just love this track. Really puts you into a trance. It even has a house vocal over the top, kind of gives it that old school feel. And just such a smooth track, just the evolution of it, just a really beautiful track, and one of my favorite on IQ Records. And it comes in at number 36. Let's go on to number 35. Looks like Hard House Records getting a lot of love on this particular part of the list. Let's check out number 35. right, so that was track number 35 called Falling by Spice Lab, aka Oliver Lieb, which came out on his 1994 album called A Day in Our Planet. This is which Hard House Records. This is the longest track on my list in general. It's just a little bit over 18 minutes in all, and the first 5 minutes is all sort of build up ambience. It sort of sounds like you're sort of docking at some kind of like mechanic. It almost sounds like it should be like an Alien, the movie Aliens. Like you're docking on some sort of like alien planet, and there's sort of some mechanical things around, and sort of a sort of subterranean atmosphere, and it a little bit damp and a little bit mechanical and sort of colder sounding, but not too colder sounding. It's just a really great intro for like 5 minutes, and then the beat starts and it's kind of deep and alien sounding. It's got some acid in there, but what really ties it in for me is that last couple minutes of that melodic break and the deep bass notes, and how it almost hits like a machine gun. It's like do 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 do. Just love this track. I love the whole atmosphere of the track, and one of my favorite from Oliver Leap comes in at number 35 with a score of 84 out of 100. Spice Lab's Falling. Let's go on to number 34. All right, so that was number 34. The track is called Orion by Joey Beltram and it came out in 1994 on Warp Records. Here's a copy on vinyl, and I also have the CD single as well. And it's some people might consider this song a little bit more techno, but it's always been more trancey to me. It's kind of on the edge of techno and trance. Regardless, it's nice to have a Joey Beltram track on here. Of course, he's more known for being a techno artist and house music back in the day. But Joey Beltram is such a great programmer and drum and percussion programmer. He's just very underrated in many respects. It's strange thinking Joey Beltram is kind of an underrated artist now. He was such a big name back in the day, but when people think of the history of techno music and the history of electronic music and dance music, like Joey Beltram should not be forgotten. That's for sure. And it seems like in these days, because he's such a low key character and he's not out and about there, it seems like a lot of people are sort of missing his donation or his I shouldn't say donation. Not looking for the word. His impact in the dance music is huge. I mean, he was on so many great tracks back in the day. Especially in the early '90s, and just in various styles of music too. And so it's nice to have him sort of on the list in general with one that I feel is like the most trance track he ever done. And it's called Orion. I hope you guys don't mind if I'm playing more of the track as we sort of go on through this list. There was during the earlier side, I was playing like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and sort of as the list has kind of gone on, I've just felt like playing more of the track to highlight it, and then there's more of the track as generally they got better, maybe in some cases as well. But this track is just a little bit over 5 minutes, so I just felt like playing the whole track in general. So as I'm kind of getting to 3 to 4 minutes per track, anyways, might as well play the whole track. So hope you didn't mind listening to that track, but I love that track, so I could hear it over and over. But yeah, Strangely came out on Warp Records. Not too many sort of trancey tracks on Warp Records, but there was a couple, and this one is definitely one that I felt like it was. And with the score of 84 out of 100, coming at number 34, that was Orion Orion by Joey Beltram. All right, let's go on to number 33.
Wonderful human beings. wonderful human beings.
All right, we're up to number 33. That was a track called "Human" by Resistance D, and we're at now a score of 85 out of 100. This came out in 1993 on Hard House Records. Here's an original copy right here. Probably one of the fastest trance tracks on my list. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's roughly around like 158 to 160 BPMs, somewhere in that range. Love the female vocal on it, saying, wonderful human beings, and the other part, just great vocal samples. Love the changes, the intense beat, multiple melodies on here. Sci-fi melodic break is really unique, and it's really welcomed after that intense fast trance and the fast BPM. Then it just kind of goes into that unique kind of like you're discovering a world sort of melody. Like it's really a unique kind of melody that kind of balances out the fast trance. Vocal sample comes back in, and then it goes kind of more techno with like these chord stabs, and sort of goes a little bit more towards like a retro, and not really at the time, but it sounds like a retro track in a lot of aspects now with the techno aspect on here. It's very of the time, but such a classic track by Resistance D, and comes in at a score of 85 out of 100 now. The track called "Human," and it came from 1993. All right, let's go on to one of the probably newest tracks on the list that's this high on the list.
with the visual attack formation.
Alright, coming in a score of 85 out of 100. That was number 32, Universal Nation by Push. This came out on Bonsai Records in 1998. Gotta love the darkness in this track, the powerful trance track that this is. One of the last, I felt like one of the last kind of dangerous, kind of euphoric, balanced out, darker trance tracks. It almost reminds me of like Orange Theme from Cygnus X, but a little bit darker. But I certainly love the Oliver Leave remix of this track as well. But I thought I'd keep the original on this list. But I certainly love Oliver Leave's remix as well. A lot of other good remixes of this track anyway. But all the elements are right there, and the original is such a strong track, and it just shows you the how powerful electronic and techno and trance can be. This is such a big sounding track, and I can remember when it was played at the clubs, and you'd hear that break come in and that strong chords, and it's everybody would just be like, "Oh, this track is sick," and it was, even though it got really popular, it didn't deter from how great this track was, and that was a sign of a sign of it being a good track was that it was able to persevere through being maybe overly played by a lot of trance DJs, but definitely a classic track and probably the newest track on my list that's this high, coming from 1998. I don't have a lot of tracks over 1997, 1998. Probably maybe somewhere in between 5 to 10 at the most after 97 to like 2002, somewhere in there, maybe like 5 or 10 tracks on this list total. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the highest newest track, if I can say new track without kind of laughing. But yeah, great track. Number 32, Push's Universal Nation. Let's go into another underrated one which comes from an album with probably what a lot of people would consider the best trance track or most popular trance track of all time, or at least one of them. But this is my underground gem from the same album by of course the same artist. All right, let's check out this one. right, so coming in number 31, that was Hard Floor with AM Trip. Came out on his Experience One album from 1993 on Hard House Records. A score of 85 out of 100. You know, if everybody knows Experience One, and I certainly had that track on this list. It was a lot lower, but this is my favorite of this album. I just love this track so much. I bought it for Experience, but I always come back to it for AM Trip. Love this track. The slower groove of it, the really slower, deeper acid line. The melody is great. It turns into like an epic melody rise as it goes. Dueling acids, which Hard Floor is always known for. But I love that acid and the washes that slowly morph itself like over the track as it sort of peaks. It's just like a really, I kind of love the slow acid lines that Hard Floor does sometimes, and I just love it over this great melody. It's such a euphoric track, and I love how it's slower and not so euphoric upbeat, but it's euphoric because of the great melody. And yeah, it comes in at number 31 with the last track on this list for this video, Hard Floor's AM Trip, with a score of 85 out of 100. All right, well, I appreciate you guys' time in watching this episode, number 7, as we counted down from number 40 down to number 31. Hopefully you'll be back for edition number 8, and we'll start at number 30 and go down to number 21. All right, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope you're having a great day. All right, take care.
Coming.